Hello, hello, hello. We are back for another episode of the Drunken Brainwave. I am Lee Wilcox, and the counterpart I have to me is Adam. Oh no, it's not Adam.
No,
it's not Adam Barrie.
Stepped in. I'm Andy Taylor, and I'm commercial director of Electric House, and it's time to roll VT.
It was that was smooth. That was, Andy.
You like that?
Yeah, it was very casual, wasn't it? It was just very. I'm Andy Taylor, and let's roll VT.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, no, it's nice to have you in, mate. I'm just posting onto Instagram to tell people that we're live on the podcast. It's lovely to have you on. Thanks for filling in. Adam Barrie's on holiday at home, half term with the kids, so he's not repping this week, which is all good. I'm glad he's got some time off. As always, we've got Mr. Elkins. How are you, Mr. Elkins? You all right?
Hello. I'm also working from home today. Lovely people. Happy to be here, and even happier that we've got Andy on because he's a master of stories.
Master of stories, master of lives as well, isn't he? Really. You've done a live or two, haven't you?
I've done a few. I think we worked out more than 100 Facebook lives, which makes me a veteron.
Wow, that's good. That's really good. That isn't it? Do you have you got that on your LinkedIn? You know, like the people who you should. Yeah, I'm pleased to do that.
It's a side hustle, isn't it? Presenting live for me. It's not my day job, which is why I've retired.
It's not you.
Retired. I did one. It'd be about 2 weeks ago now, wouldn't it? I did one. I returned.
Big one as well, wasn't it, mate? What were the result? How many views did you get on that, Badger?
Well, I don't like to talk about these things, you know. It's I think it was about 400 and something thousand. I don't know, 447,362. I think. But I don't count, you know.
Well, look, as always, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So please start chucking your comments in. Obviously, not the usual setup, even just the usual setup of people, but the usual setup, the fact that all three of us are at home in separate houses this time. We've gone like step by step, haven't we? Last week we did me and Ad at home, you in the office, Naomi, and then now we've gone like, nah, we're gonna change it even more. We're gonna change the people, and we're all gonna be at home. Unfortunately, COVID is messing with our logistics, isn't it? Of spending time with certain people that may have it or have tested positive. So we're all just like laying low at the minute. You had to do a turnaround yesterday, didn't you, Jamie, in the car?
Mate, no. It's like, as soon as you get that text message, it's just like gut wrenching, isn't it? Like,
yeah, one of your mates like, mate, I've got to go and get a test.
It's horrible. Yeah, it's horrible. And then now I've got the anxiety of, do I actually have COVID or not? Which I'm sure I don't. I'm sure I'm fine, but you know, it's a weird one.
You look pale, Jamie.
Yeah, you look like I would describe you as looking like maybe like a Victorian chimney swim.
Yes.
Yeah, so I've had that a lot today. I think it's just because I'm facing a window, so I've got a lot of light coming at me. But,
I'm facing a window, but I don't look like Casper.
I mean, it's my Halloween costume.
Yeah, good. So yeah, as always with live guys, please chuck some comments in. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're here every week live. We're going to be live all the time, whether we're here at. We're debating, aren't we, at the minute, timings, you know, whether this is the right time to actually engage people. I mean, that would help, actually, you know, getting the right time and stuff. But yeah, so back as normal, guys. COVID's hitting us a little bit, but I've been at home since Thursday, and I'm going to be next Thursday, which is just, it's killing me. Anyone else struggling working from home, like who's watching? It's just an array of, like, we've just got a dog, and I love him to pieces, but he's hard work. Like he keeps like he's you know what it is? He's finding his voice, barking a lot. Like I feel like I've done something wrong, he's barking at my feet and that. He was all timid for the first 2 weeks. Now he's giving me loads of shit.
That's what they do. It's like it's borderline having a new baby in the house. Full stop. My dog is about 18 months now, and they do settle down like kids, I suppose. Less needy.
Yeah.
find their own comfort and
You're like you're like Doolittle, though, aren't you, Andy? Like you're Dr. Doolittle of Electric House. You're the animal. You're the animal sanctuary man.
Aficionado.
Yeah, aficionado. Why don't you? I mean, like it leads very brilliantly into what we're going to discuss today, which is sort of like startups and how they're structured and who's on them and how they work. And I always remember, our startup story was that me and Ad were trying to make things work and to the best we could. But you always used to say whenever we had these conversations that, what was the line, Andy? What was your favourite line?
Likes don't pay the bills.
Yeah. So me and Ad would get really excited about the fact we've got loads of growth through the channels that we had, particularly Facebook. And Andy would always be like, yeah, but likes don't pay the bills. And we'd always be like, fuck off, Andy. Like, you're like just shitting on us here, shitting on our fun here. But, you were bang on, weren't you? And I think I've always been commercially minded, but I think I'm a bit of a broader set in terms of focuses and like very focused on the people and the culture part of it. And whereas Ad wasn't really the commercial one, Ad was very much content, community, and then that was when we knew, you'd been involved from the very beginning, Andy.
Almost the very beginning.
Never
call myself a co-founder.
No, you don't. But me and Andy used to work together. That's how we knew each other. And I pulled you into one of the rooms in the meeting rooms, and I was like, Andy, I need you to give me some money.
Yeah, obviously I didn't have much, but I could find a bit down the back of the sofa.
Yeah. And it was all based around the fact that we had about 60,000 followers on Facebook. That was the business model. Like, Andy, I need some money to build a website. We're driving traffic and we're making some dough on it. Do you want to be involved? And really, when I asked you, Andy, it's all around the basis that I knew that we would get to a point where we need to sell, and I knew that you were the person that we needed to do it. That was the sort of, and really at that point we didn't know what we were going to be saying. But I knew it was you that I was like, yeah, you can be the salesperson. Well,
in that business, where we worked in a five-a-side football business, and Lee and I worked together on a franchise opportunity to let other people use that brand that had been established for a few years in their local area, whether that be UK or globally. And I was the sales guy, and Lee made sure that whatever I'd sold, we could produce and deliver on, really, wasn't it? You were the operations. And I used to go out and meet people and get the deals done. And we worked really well together. I thought it was a really good combination, which is why when, Lee did approach me and said this might turn into something at some point, I was keen to get involved, for sure. I trusted his judgment and somebody I could work with. We worked together for quite a long time, really, wasn't it? In the grand scheme of things.
4 years, something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, which is a long time for me just to stay in the same career. Hence why you're talking about animals earlier. So
yeah, go on. Why don't you give everyone a bit of see? You were at this company that we worked at for like 4 years, but before that, what was your career path, Andy?
Right from the very beginning.
Wow. Yeah, go on, loosely from the beginning. Here we go. Here's the dogs knocking on.
Yeah, it's not behaving. Hold on a sec. Talk around me. I'm going to kick him out.
Wow, love that.
I'm going to let Andy explain this. We got any comments, Jamie? Go on. Have we got anyone asking anything? We got any?
We haven't on LinkedIn yet. I haven't on LinkedIn yet. Do you know what I think we should do next week?
What?
I think we should do a big old giveaway.
Really? Oh, really?
Yeah, I think we should do a giveaway.
What are you thinking?
I don't know. So maybe some hoodies, maybe some merch. I know we've got some on the tools stuff knocking around.
Oh, some merch. You want about giving some merch? People love a bit of merch, don't they?
People love a little bit of merch. There we go.
Here he goes. Yeah, nice. It's funny. I actually I reached out to someone a week or so ago. I got a call with him this afternoon, and he I haven't spoken to him in about a year, and he when I messaged him on LinkedIn, he took a photo and he was drinking out of his On the Tools mug, and he was like, "It's one of the best things I got given when I came to your place." And I was like, "No way, people do love stuff like that, don't they?"
Yeah, I think the fact we were able to personalize stuff, it was a real help at first to build those relationships and to stay in people's minds. But sorry, the dog interrupted there. My potted job history was left school, joined the Air Force, went from the Air Force, sort of fell out the Air Force, not fell out with them, but fell out the Air Force into sort of retail, and then more sort of sales retail around the explosion of mobile phones, and then personal computers. I'm so old. Around the turn of the century.
Personal computers. Personal computers.
That's what it was. It was
that is hilarious.
Tiny PCs.
Did you sell them? Did you sell VHS as well, Andy? Videotape players.
I'll tell you what we used to say to people. We used to say, this one here has got a 4 gigabyte hard drive. Right? And we used to say, and genuinely at the time, because we didn't know the capability of anything, that will be enough space you'll need for life.
No way.
And we weren't kidding people, because we just didn't know what it was. At that point, it was massive. It was 56k dial-up, and you weren't streaming movies or storing anything like that. So it was just like documents. But anyway, did a bit of that. Went back into mobile phones. So they're very, very salesy environments, and I sort of like used to look after a number of stores and stuff like that. And then I just decided, I was probably not far off your age, actually, Lee. Now I was probably about 32, 33. You're a little bit older than that now,
being very kind to me, aren't
you?
Yeah,
I was being kind to you there. And I decided to go to university as a mature student to study zoology, which
seems like the right path. It seems like the natural path, doesn't it?
So many people do it. So many people do it. Yeah, it's the worst one en route. Yeah, and which led me to becoming an elephant keeper. Which again, so many, such a common thing to do. And then to running a zoo in Essex, which was actually quite a good combination of skill sets, because it was animals and business, but just didn't work out from an Essex personal dodgy owner perspective, to ended up coming back to the Midlands, which is where I met Lee in five-side football. So yeah, been here, there and everywhere, Jamie, and now I find myself
I can just imagine you like working with like the UK ex-Essex like Tiger King.
Yeah, no, it's all above board.
That is a mad path. But you're right though. It's interesting. I've never really thought about that. So actually, the job we did before, where you did the sales, I did the handling and sort of execution or operations or whatever. That's kind of what happened when we started this business, isn't it? You came on and started doing the sales. Ad was doing the content and the ideology, the sort of the creative side of it, and then I was doing I'll make sure that everything gets done on time, in order, So I was like an account director then, I guess. I was the bit in the middle, weren't I?
Yeah, but also always looking for those sort of tech solutions, and which is what you've done in the five-side football company, was to try and streamline what we were doing, make us more efficient in terms of payments and all those kinds of things. It was you always had your eye on tech.
I love a bit of tech. I'm still doing it now. I still spend quite a bit of time on looking for it's not my job, I know that, but in spare time, I still start looking at software solutions and
and also and you don't like it when other people find them, because I found that out on a call the other day, because Scott suggested a new piece of software and you were like, ugh, it looks terrible. That's a terrible.
It does. And you know what frustrates me about that is that I'd spent 5 minutes afterwards looking, and I'm like, I found one already that's still got the same stuff, but it doesn't look like it was built. But anyway, we digress. So the business was built up of those 3 roles, wasn't it? Really, which kind of isn't too different to how it is now, really. I know we've added production in, I guess you could say, the other end of it, but it's sort of like layered out from that, isn't it? And it's like sometimes you can just, maybe it's more simple than we all make it. It's content, it's sales, content, and delivery. That's what we do.
I think so. Yeah. It's just, I went from being the commercial team for probably a good 2 years because I was a bit reluctant to let go. Because but it's the same, isn't it? I'm sure you feel the same, Lee. When you grow a business like that, you start feeling, well, nobody's going to do it the way I do it, and therefore you can be a bit resistant to bring people in from that perspective.
Yeah.
But now there's like 20 odd of us in the commercial team, which is just,
which is funny because really at that point when you were the commercial director, when you were the commercial team, there was probably about 20 of us in the business.
Yeah.
And but isn't it funny that the moment we do start to let go and how things can quickly grow, you can't scale with everyone keeping hold of things like, okay. And actually now I don't think I can do half the stuff that the business does better than other people. No,
exactly that. Yeah. You roll with it and then you actually find out that people are better than you at it anyway. And they're not saying the things you would say, which is often a good thing. And they're doing it their way, which, like I say, the results are there to show that it's probably better anyway.
So what's your journey been from like? Because I think there'll be people, I think it's interesting, isn't it, of like startup businesses, agencies, publishers, whatever you want to, I think we're going to come on to that, whatever you want to like describe them as, or describe us as. There's always that trepidation in employing people, isn't there, and how to grow and what the path is. Do you think we got ours right in terms of how we did it?
No, I don't.
Tell us what you really think.
Yeah, no. I mean, hindsight's 20/20, isn't it? I would have just done it earlier. If you think about it, I waited so long that the next person that came in was Mark, who was part of the business anyway. So there's total sort of trust there that they were going to do the right things and have the right behaviours. And yeah, he wouldn't come until it was safe to do so.
What's really funny the other day, I've got to tell this story. We were on the way back from the strategy day, right? And we were travelling in the car and Ad had said something, and Mark was talking about the growth of the client services team and stuff, which is the bit that Mark covers. And we always joke with Mark because he was in London doing another role, and circumstances meant that he just couldn't come into the business for whatever reason. Anyway, when he did, we always joke and be like, you didn't have the balls to make a jump. You weren't invested enough. We always dig it in. And we always like make numbers up of what number employee it was, right? And like joke that he was like number. I don't even know what he was, but we always joke now that he's like number 30. The number keeps going up anyway, like, as the business grows. And the Ad was like, what you should do, Mark? You could like publish a book and you could call it employee number 51, How I Risked It All. Oh, that was it, because we were talking about the book that me and Ad have been asked to like tell the story of the business, and it's going to be featured in Content Inc., which is like a book that's already been published. Done pretty well, I think, but they're doing like a new version of it. I'm sure we'll tell people when it's out, whatever. I think it's next year. And we were talking about that, and then Ad said that, and it just killed me. But yeah, so anyway.
But I think maybe Mark's just less naive than I was. If you go back right to when I joined, you just basically lied to me to get me on board.
Tell us about that, because that's just so funny.
Yeah, so me and Ad had got to the point where, we got to this breaking point where the business had done really well for like a year, in the sense that it had grown a lot, and then we started the online store through 2015. Because you started 2016, didn't you, Andy?
Yes.
Yeah, so through 2015, and then we got to like Christmas that year, and we were selling all this on all the stuff. Jeremy wanted to start giving away all the like on the tools merch and all this stuff, and it was flying out the door. Like me and Ad were honest. This is no lie. We were from the start of like halfway through September to the start of October. We were working like 18 hours every day, like. And I'm on about weekend. It was relentless. We had no life. The only point I took time off was to see Ava. That was it. I even had my mum and dad coming down. I mean, my mum worked for us sort of part time. It was meant to be. I remember nights where we had my mum, my dad, my sister, Ad, Lorna, Lorna's mate, and we'd all just be trying to pack the stuff because we had that many orders and we're that far behind. It was taking like I'm talking like thousands and thousands of orders in a month. So we were doing this anyway, and we were going through it, and then we did the Christmas, and we'd like got all this sort of pot of cash. We had, I don't know, I mean, cash flow was saying we had like 30, 40 grand. You know, we could pay ourselves, do all this stuff, and then January came. We just didn't know what to do. Like all the sales had stopped. We had no real knowledge of what we were doing. Like because back then, because of the community that we built, we had this massive organic reach. It was mental. You could just like, I could just post pictures of the designs organically on Facebook and get like 30 sales off one post done. It was easy because we'd done the hard work of like building this organic community. And the ads platform was just nowhere near as sophisticated as it was back then. You could, again, like, I could then take that post that had done 30 sales and I could put 200 quid behind it as a boost to the audience. Boom, another 50 sales. It, like, without trying to sound like a dick, it was simple, yeah. But that was the problem. We thought we'd like nailed it, you know, the whole like, nothing lasts forever, and it didn't. And then January came and the whole thing, the bottom fell out of it. So we just started spending all the money we made. We started spending it on ads, trying to work it out, doing these different things. I remember me and Ad would spend like loads of time while we did this. I didn't know how to use a spreadsheet. So we'd have this whiteboard that we'd always like write all the data down so we could see it and like, you know, what ones were working and what the conversion rate was and all this different stuff. Anyway, we went through loads of dough. Like I'm talking like all of it pretty much in like 3 months. And it got to March 2016. And then we got the app back from development, and it didn't work. We'd been ripped off. Like that $8,000 that we'd like spent on credit cards, 3 credit cards across that first year. It was built in iOS 3, I think, and Apple had launched iOS 7, and they'd actually discontinued iOS 3. So anything that was built in that just wouldn't work. We were like, shit, like, and then we had this content deal as well with a big player within construction, I won't name them, where we were selling them licensed content that they were reposting. They've got really good social channels now based on that. And they were like, oh, we don't need it anymore, thanks. And it was a really good deal for us. It was about, I think it was about $5,000 a month, maybe, you know, for nothing, you know, it was just easy money for us. That stopped, and we had another thing we were doing, like conversion on tax claims and things like that for the trade, and that stopped because it wasn't the right. Once you get to the end of March, it's all sort of dealt with because it's the end of the tax year, so then it's just about them converting it. And we were like, shit. It got to the end of March, and the P&L, we'd lost 23 grand. We had about 3 grand left in the bank account. The app didn't work. We had no money to like build a new one. We were like, fuck, this business, we're over, we're done. Like, that's it. And we were like, we've got to start working with brands. We'd have bits and pieces in where people had sent us content all day. We'd say like, we'd have something through the Facebook page or in like an inbox, you know, in the email, like a picture of like a 20% sale on this e-com store. Can you post this for 300 quid? And we'd just be like, yeah. Me and I'd be like high five and being like, yes. Like, you know, we'll split that 150 quid each for the week. Genuinely, that's what it was like. But we were like looking elsewhere across social and going, well, you know, Lab Bible, they're doing like campaigns with these brands, and Unilad are doing this, and we were like, we should be doing that, but for trade, you know, that's where it is, you know. And we just knew we needed Andy on. The shop started to pick back up in March, and it was hard, but we were basically being able to turn money around, so we could just sell some money to put back into the ads, take a bit out of payment, and then put it back in. It was like we weren't making any money, but we were able to like take the money out to pay ourselves a little bit of money and do all that. Ad was dealing with the community and the content, and we were like, we need someone to come in and sell. So I remember ringing Andy and being like, Andy, we need you to jump on board now, mate. We're getting to the point now where we can keep the shop going, and we know it's not going to really boom again until Christmas, but we know it will boom. And it did, you know, we sort of got that covered, and it did do exactly the same. We made more money the next year than we did the first year. But we knew, we'd sort of understood then that it was going to be seasonal. Yeah, and at Father's Day, like that boomed, brilliant. And that actually helped during that period. Like, mate, when's Father's Day? Like June, isn't it? And like, so it gave us a good boost then. But we knew that we needed to bring someone on. I said to Andy, look, you've got to come on now. If we're going to do this, the audience is still, the community is still growing. It's growing at rapid rates. Like we're doing like 100K growth a month. Like we've got something here. You've got to come on. You need to be the person who needs to go and talk to brands. And Andy was like, all right, well, look, give me 3 months salary in the bank and I'll do it. I'll jump. And like about 4 weeks later, me and Adam rang Andy and was like, we've got it. And Andy was like, sweet, I'll start in May. And we didn't have it. We didn't have. We'd done like a few ropey post stuff. You know, those ones I was on about where people send you like a post to say, "Oh, it's 300 quid." We did a load of that. Basically, we got. I think we had about $4,000 in the bank account, 4.5 grand, something like that. You know, definitely not enough for Andy's salary for 3 months and mine and Ad's. Sorry, but Andy didn't even ask. He didn't even ask the question. Now, there's some. You know, admittedly, it's very, very rogue of me, isn't it, to do that? But I believed in what we were doing so much, and I believed in Andy and what he could do, that it was more of like, we need him in, he needs to be here and see what's happening. But it was hard though, weren't it? I'll be honest, when you did come on board, I must admit, I had like 4 or 5 months of being like, shit, what have I done, man? This geezer's got families. He's got a mortgage. He's got, you know, right for me at that point. I'm still living with mum and dad, and I'm borderline bankrupt. And you know, what have I got to lose really, other than like, my credit for 7 years? I
did used to think that at times that, like, you know, that was your position. Ad was still getting calls from builders saying, "Are you free to work?" And I thought, you know, he could be straight back on the tools the next day if everything went wrong. And I was probably with my strange career path of zoo management, elephant keeper, Air Force, and things like that, I might struggle to find my niche again. But I guess that's what puts a bit of fire in your belly, doesn't it, as well? Knowing that we were scrapping for it, and we used to, you know, sometimes I remember a couple of months we sort of got our wages in installments as we got paid, and that tax company, I remember that it was a big reveal every month, wasn't it? We didn't know what we were going to get because it was quite a long sort of pipeline of sales, and it used to be a bit of a drum roll. Are we going to eat when we used to open the email to say what the
it was on that spreadsheet, wasn't it? I've got real vivid memories of that. It was on the spreadsheet, and you'd scroll to the bottom and see what the total was going to be, and you'd either be. I remember there's times where we'd be literally jumping up and down, like, like, oh my god, like
it was making or breaking us at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. Yeah. I think Jeopardy's got a lot to do with it, and I think through those periods of time, it's the reason you don't hire people soon enough, because it's that jeopardy of like, shit, if we bring them in and they don't do what they're meant to do, and they don't like give us the return, actually the cost of them is going to mean that we might not be able to get paid. But then you kind of like, it's that whole, and I think as I've grown through the business, and even more so now, it's this whole like leaders eat last thing, you know, where it's like, actually it doesn't, like, well, them's the breaks, like, you know, you might think that still, but it's like, that's the job. Like you can't be in the position that we're in and still be like, well, I still want to get paid first, and I still want to like take first, and well, what's that going to do about my lifestyle? Like, goes out the window. You can't operate the business like that. And I'm happy to say and like confident and proud to say that we don't, you know, that we do eat last, and that's the reality of it.
Amazing. I think kind of tying in nicely, we've got a lovely question from Roxanne Green about kind of like when you started. What has been the most impactful decisions that you've made when trying to scale the business from a people or process perspective?
Ooh, that's a meaty one, isn't it?
Hello.
Hi, Roxanne.
Hello, Roxanne.
Thanks for the question, Roxanne. What's the most impactful decision that we've made, process or people? I don't know. Have you got anything, Andy? I will have to think. There's probably quite a few things actually for me.
I think the first office move was a big step. It was a huge space. We didn't really know what to do with it. We moved in there with, if you think we moved in there with 5 people in the business, in the media side of things, 4 when we moved in, wasn't there? Just you, me, Ad, and Abby. And Kirsten joined pretty soon.
Kirsten joined when we were there, because remember we interviewed her. This is a funny story. Like we'd got this office, and then it was like our first proper interview, because really Abby I knew of Abby. I didn't know her. I think I've met her like once, but I knew Abby through a family friend. You know, it was one of those things, and that someone in, I think it was my sister's ex cousin, or it was something mad anyway, knew Abby. You know, it was one of them. And really at that point it was an apprenticeship. Abby came in, she seemed like a nice person, she was keen, and that's all we needed really, wasn't it? Like, you know, at that point there was no like real science behind it. But Kirsten was like the first interview like thing, and we just moved to the mill in Paisley, and it was still being sort of like kitted out, but we didn't want to interview her at Wilcox, but we wanted to do it at Paisley, and we didn't have a table, so we bought a table to be delivered. And then when it got delivered, it was this massive table, and it was that big and shit that it like bowed in the middle, didn't it? Like, it was this mad thing. So we had to like get a leg and stick it in the middle of it. And when Kirsten came in to interview, there was just nothing in the office other than this room at the very back of the office with a table and some chairs. It must look like some kind of interrogation room. It was bizarre. What we're talking about, sorry, then.
Yeah,
they moved to the office. Yeah.
I think because ultimately we ended up, how many people were in the business when we left there? 50 or?
About 45, yeah.
45, yeah.
48, something like that. Which is mad, isn't it, really?
Yeah, because it was cavernous, and then it went to pokey because there was no room for anyone. So that was a big decision, because we didn't need to do it. We didn't need to do it then. That was a planning that was future planning. We thought we'd never fill it.
Yeah, I think
that intake. So my thing was, whether it's fortuitous or not, is that I came in 2016, and by the end of 2016, we had 3 opportunities for retained clients for 2017, and I think we were like, if we get 1 of these out of 3, it's okay. If we get 2, you know, it's fantastic. If we get 3, it's like unbelievable. And we got all 3. And it meant that on January the 1st, 2017, we knew we were making, I always remember the figure, we knew we were making 41 pieces of video content for brands that year. And obviously the associated income from that. So therefore, it goes back to the point Lee was making before. You're reluctant to bring somebody, you know, take somebody out of a job who's got a mortgage, or they've got rent, or they've got family and stuff like that, and put them in a risky situation. Immediately, it alleviated a load of risk, and we were able to. We had a big recruitment day, didn't we?
Oh yeah,
we had like it was like an exam. We got people to write captions for content, didn't we? And all sorts.
I remember that, yeah. And we did that whole day, and then people had to do like a 2-minute video because we wanted people who could potentially be in front of the camera, and we wanted to sort of get a bit more. And that was wasn't that when I know we did a second one, and Matt Butler did he came in and did a song, didn't he? Like create a song.
But first time, there was about 30 people came to it, wasn't there? I think we had about six jobs. 6 or 7 jobs? Something like that, yeah. And 30 odd people came to this ramshackle.
On a Saturday as well, Saturday morning. This,
old warehouse, mill building, and and are they all still with us? Pretty much all of those are still with us. So
I'll tell you who got the jobs then. Jack got a job then.
Jack is now head of on the team.
Dan got a job, head of production.
Scott, head of operations.
Scott was there as well for that. There was 5 or 6 people. I don't know. But anyway,
because we had some income, so therefore we were confident to employ. And I think that served as well, because otherwise we would have stuck with sort of freelancing, which is a lot of rigmarole, and I don't think the content would have been good consistently as it was able to be with a team on it.
Yeah, and I think so. My one was going to be, but you've just said it was like bringing in a production team. Was probably from a process point of view, was probably one of the most pivotal things we've done, because when you look at the business we've got, how we describe ourselves, you know, whether we're an agency, a publisher, whatever, which is kind of what I want to sort of discuss is the difference we have is that we create all the content in house. Lots of agencies or media businesses or whatever, you know, but certainly the agency world doesn't do that. They don't own the communities. They don't have to have that always on approach to content. So I think bringing in a few people to deliver that work, but more importantly, bringing in a production element, an arm of the business, was a key difference that we had then, and has become the sort of USP we have, which is the communities and the understanding of those communities, and why we create better content for them than the brands can themselves. They need us to do that because we've got the touch point, we've got the we've got that, we've got that tone of voice. And then I think, and then personally, I think the other probably like pivotal bit would be the sales side, like really like, tripling, quadrupling, 20xing the size of that, because I think I think without that investment, you just can't, look, we can talk about culture and all these different things, but without the fuel for the car, it ain't going anywhere. Without the money for the business, it ain't doing shit. You have to still be profitable. You have to still have revenue coming in, and then you can do all the good stuff. Then you can look after people. Then you can create a business that people want to be in, and that they feel fulfilled in, and that they feel safe in, and that you can, build something really special where everyone looks after each other. But before that, not before that, but at the same time as that, you have to have money coming in. So I think, there's a few bits that we've done, but I think that would be my key parts.
Good question, though.
Yeah,
great question, Roxanne Green.
Which kind of anything else, Jamie? You got anyone else knocking around on the live at the minute?
Kelly Craddock was laughing at Andy Taylor for personal computers and that kind of jazz. Brilliant.
Personal computers. I wanted to talk about, and we particularly after last week's strategy thing that we did. The biggest thing that come out of that in a minute, and it's something that I spoke to the business about on the week. We do like a weekly call every week. Every Monday morning we start the week off with everyone on a video call. Used to be everyone in face to face in the office and stuff, but where we would start with just a weekly quiz just to get everyone engaged and do a little giveaway on that, whoever can win, and then we go through stuff that's happening that week, process, operational, client stuff, some wins, some losses, whatever needs to be communicated, basically. And I wanted to sort of bring up the positioning again, and something that I'm now working on is what is Electric House. I think we launched Electric House in October, and you go through the branding exercise, you do all the thing, and you position it, and you go, that feels right, that feels good enough for now, and then you crack on, and then you go through what we've gone through this year, what everyone's gone through. So not only have you had a year where you've moved, the brand's grown a lot, more people added in, but then you take it through this whole COVID pandemic, and you sell things that you don't usually sell because you're trying to make money. And you're doing all these different things, that rightly or wrongly, that you do. And then you take some stock and you sit and you go, okay, it's been a year now since we launched Electric House. Are we actually what we say we are? What are who are we? Why do we exist? How do we do it? What do we do? And sort of brought me back into that thinking again. And my thing is with it is, I think we're sitting in this really weird spot now, I think, as a business, where we are a publishing group, a social media publisher, a social first publisher, whatever. And then we're an agency as well, or we describe ourselves as an agency. Or actually, if we describe ourselves as an agency, which is kind of even worse. But these two worlds have collided over the last 5 years because of social media, where you've got publishers and publishing groups, whether that be digital, press, radio, whatever, content publishers, and agencies have collided, but no one's defined it. And that's our problem. We kind of don't know what we are, and we found, we call ourselves a social media publishing group. But when you do that, lots of people then go, "What's that? Don't know what that is." And then you default again. Well, we're kind of like an agency that owns the communities.
Yeah, I think we kind of know who we are, but it's getting a succinct way of getting it across to other people so they instantly get it.
Yes.
Even when we try and explain it, like you've just done there, it's quite wordy and worrying. It's messy,
isn't it?
But we're not like that because we're like this. Whereas we're this. And I think part of the difficulty is because it just hasn't been done before. So you kind of got to. There's no real benchmark. There's a few people doing it right now. But you don't want to refer to yourself. We're a bit like such and such,
Yeah, and it's that thing is that you don't want questions after you've explained who you are. You don't want people to question it. I think that's the thing we always have, and I think we have it with ourselves. My big thing would be is if you did it internally, which I plan on doing, is what answers you get. Because ultimately, the business is the people within the business. They're the ones driving it forward. Yeah, I'm the one who's trying to position how we do that. But the people within the business are driving it forward. Particularly on the client services side, whether it's account management, account directors, account execs, or plant partners, or wherever it might be. They're the ones who are at the coal face of it, talking to people on a daily basis, going, "This is who we are." Right? Yeah. And if they can't all do it in the same way, the whole thing's gone, isn't it?
It's true.
None of it makes sense anymore, and then it becomes that Chinese whispers. It becomes that thing where it's like no one really, got an idea, a rough idea. We know what we're doing internally. We create content, we put it on social media for clients, right? It's fine. But then when you try and explain it externally, or they don't get it, and you default back to these weird answers of we're like an agency, but we're not, or we're like an agency, but we own communities, we distribute the content. Or sometimes people forget to say that, so actually clients think that we own the communities, but we don't do any of the content. You know what I mean? There's all these little intricacies of
need to be included without making it complicated.
Yeah.
So we've got sorry mate, carry on.
No, go on, Jamie, go on.
So we've got this problem about us, kind of like a problem, but we don't know who we are. But I feel like that's not just a problem for us, it's like the whole industry as a whole, and where that's going to go. Where do you kind of see the future agencies looking like?
I think there'll be these bigger groups. Look, I think our industry, the publishing industry, if you want to sort of go down that route, will be consolidated. That's my view of it. Because I think there's a lot of good stuff in it. Yeah, I think there's some really good media brands, communities, publishers, however you want to describe them. I think there's some really good ones. And then I think there's some really shit ones. I think there's some really that are rogue and that shouldn't exist and that shouldn't be allowed to work with clients because they take their money, give them views in territories that are not relevant for the brand, and package it up as a good job. And I think it's wrong. Yeah, bandits.
But if you look at media as a whole, it's happened in all of the forms of media that there's been this consolidation and this grouping together. If you look at radio, at one point,
with global
real boost. I'm old enough to remember when there was a myriad of local radio stations that the best ones all got picked up.
You used to sit around as a family and put the wireless on, Andy, with a pack of Whirlwind originals.
You need to
watch the radio
and talk about the rations that you got that week.
Pretty much, but and then the same happen with TV stations, with newspapers, with magazines. They all just get swallowed up. And for me, I know we've just been talking about how we describe ourselves, but I see it as a new, I hate the word new age, but like a new broadcaster. And that's I see as where we sit. It's not Lee doesn't agree, so I'm not going to start tell anyone else that. Good job this isn't going out live.
Oh yeah, good job it's not live. No, it's interesting because I've not heard you say that before. But
I often use that to describe what we do. We're a broadcaster, and we broadcast to people through our channels, which happen to be on social media, in the same way that TV, a broadcaster, or a radio station is a broadcaster.
the problem with that is that a broadcaster takes content and pushes it out regardless, doesn't it? So like,
this is the difference. Because no, the difference with a traditional broadcaster is the adverts are defined. Here's the advert space. Whereas this is why we have to be a bit different and agile and work with our clients, because there isn't like, oh, this one's just an advert. I get it, it's just an advert, because the way it's consumed through a feed and stuff like that. You don't have like a radio station has, let's go to the ad break. And they don't care what's in that ad break because it's not a reflection on them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas we have to care because it goes out through our channel with our thing on. And when people are consuming it, they're not.
I think, Jamie, your mum just walked in then.
I think she's trying to give me a ham sandwich. I haven't asked for anything.
I actually know he's a vegetarian as well.
Oh, he's not anymore, is he? He's
not vegetarian.
Oh. No, he's caved on it. 3 years was it, Jamie? No, you're not.
I think it was a bit longer than that. But yeah, man. Chicken breast for days.
Oh man, it's all right. It's because the world's balanced again because my wife's become a vegetarian in the past 2 weeks. So
there we go. That was brilliant, Jamie. The wonders of live. That's like when that kid got trounced in on the BBC one, and the nanny comes in and drags him out on his head. Andy, what were you saying? Yeah, so
the difference is when you're a radio station, you just go to the ad break, and everybody knows the ads, and there's no negativity. What those ads could be just, and they often are real right hooky and just cheesy or whatever, but that's not a reflection on Talk Sport, for example. That's a reflection on the brand themselves. Whereas and the same for ITV, they don't really care what's in the ads. I'm sure there's some
as long as it doesn't break advertising.
Yeah, it's not their problem, and people know that's boxed up as an ad. Whereas because the way that we put our content out, everything comes out with an on a budget or an on the tools badge on it. And therefore, we have to have that creative control over it because people just see it as on the tools content or on a budget content. They don't see it as an ad per se.
Is that why we're not a broadcaster? So, for example, I'd love to know this. If anyone's listening, watching, whatever, particularly from on the audio side of things, if where we're getting people listening on this the weeks after. If you're an agency. What does an agency think of that? And this is the battle, isn't it? Is that you go to an agency or a brand and you say we're a broadcaster, or we portray ourselves as a broadcaster. What do they think of us? Do they think they can just send content and we'll just put it on, no problem?
No, because we're a new style of broadcaster.
Listen to him, new age. He loves the word new age.
Amazing. So we're talking of new things that haven't existed before. I want to move on to the Drunken Brainwave because Lee Wilcox had a Drunken Brainwave of something that's turned into one of the biggest global companies in the world. So Lee, do you want to talk us about Tapper Taxi?
Tapper Taxi. See, people won't believe this, will they? This is the problem because everyone's had an idea of this. It's easy to talk about an idea that is now like one of the global leading spaces, like the whole you call it's not last mile, is it? But it's
gig economy.
Yeah. This was when we were working in the old company, and because I was pestering you with it.
I don't think you invented the. Thinking back, my memory of it is that you'd seen Uber.
No, I hadn't, and then this was the thing. I hadn't seen Uber. I'd seen Halo.
Oh, okay.
Halo. Yeah. So Halo was a black cab version of Uber. Yeah, and it was the first one I saw. And I was like, this makes sense, right? But it doesn't make sense because it's just black cabs. Surely you should just be using just car like any taxi. But it was specifically black cabs. So if you didn't have a London black cab, then you couldn't be as part of the Halo thing, right? But it totally made sense to me in terms of the logistics of it all. So I wanted to do it in Birmingham. That was my thing. I was like, well, it should be in Birmingham, should be there. And the whole Tapper Taxi was obviously, you tap it on your phone, the taxi turns up. And I went through this whole about a 3-month phase of and this is the thing, hilarious really. I think I spent a lot of my time trying to think of other ideas of what always I knew I was going to end up running a business, knew it. But I just didn't know what it was, trial and error, throw the shit at the wall, however you want to word it. Anyway, I ensured in spending 3 months of my life, building out what the app would look like, doing mock screens, wireframes. I met with development companies and priced it all up, did all that, and then I read about Uber, and I was like, oh fuck. And then
I remember you telling me that about the map, and that you'd be able to see the taxi on the map, and it comes to you. I thought, wow, this is like from the future.
Yeah.
Because it was always, a hideous times calling a taxi after you've been out, isn't it? And it's like, no, it's just coming around your corner now. You get that when you used to have to phone them back up again all the time. I thought, you see it on a map. This is a game changer.
It's about eight years ago. This was. It must have been. So we've been running the business 6 years. Yeah, it's about 8 years ago.
It was, yeah.
And I read about Uber in America and that they were coming to the UK. And then I remember when I read about Uber that week, someone launched in Birmingham, and it's one that's like been eaten up now. I can't remember what it was called. It wasn't Halo. It wasn't Uber. It was something else. And then like 9 months later, Uber were like in London, and they started to pick things apart, and that was the end of that. And I also realised as well, by the time I priced up and done all the work on it, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is really expensive. Like, expensive to build. But look, everyone has ideas, don't they, of these things when it's all knocking around. And like Andy says, it's not like I came up with the idea for the taxi thing. You just see ideas and then try and develop on them more. Like, of course. It
was a good one, man.
Yeah,
it turned out all right, isn't it, for them?
Yes, it certainly has. It's a big old market now, isn't it? I think what's interesting to me is that, and I'm noticing it more now, being at home, working from home a lot. Is like for instance, me and Cal earlier were talking, like, got some food in, and we're like, let's do that for dinner. Let's just order in. Now, I reckon before lockdown, I wouldn't have ordered food. I just wouldn't have done it. I would have walked to the shop and got some food. I wouldn't have done it. Right. Now, I think if I'm out or I was in London somewhere and I was in an office or I was working there, I would have done it. But at home, I wasn't used to ordering so much stuff to my house. Right. Now, I think because my area has also been built up with all the delivery services now, because, 6 months ago, Uber Eats, Deliveroo, Just Eat Just Eat was delivering, but not in the way it does now. But Deliveroo, Uber Eats didn't exist here. You could download the app. There was nothing on it. Couldn't get deliveries now, which seems mental. It's not like they're new. Obviously, been around for a couple of years in London and bigger cities. But that last mile delivery service for me now is becoming a space that I think is just going to completely change society and culture and the way we interact. And I just, everything is going to get delivered, everything, and it will be fine. And it will be mad if you go out for things. I feel it now. I'm like, well, can I get it delivered? That's my first thing I think of. Can I get it delivered? I don't think about where I can go and get it from anymore. And that's the space of 6 months. But particularly with food, I'm like, I get kind of annoyed now if I've got to go and get out and get food. It doesn't, even locally, you can just do the Morrison shop on Uber Eats now and Deliveroo. So like, if we're short stuff, commodity stuff, I ain't going out to get it. Because within 20 minutes it can be at my door and I have to pay someone £2.29 to get it delivered. I'm like, well, yeah, sound. It's going to change us. We're going to become very fat. That's my opinion. That's the byproduct of
maybe too late. Maybe too late for some of us.
Well, for me, yeah, definitely.
Me.
I think it wraps us up, guys. We've done a lot of talking today around just business. Hopefully, it's given you some value of how we've grown and what we did. And as Andy said, we didn't get it right really. So there's some lessons to be learned in maybe having a bit more faith in trying to scale slightly quicker, I guess. But just don't outstretch yourself. I think it would be what I would say is that you've still got to remember that unless you're raising money and you've got that endless pit of tech money, venture money, private equity, whatever, I think you still need to operate in a way that means you're not going to throw all the people you're employing under the bus and be like, wake up that day and go, sorry guys, but can't pay any of you, which I think I'm proud to say that we've never missed payroll. It's not happened in our business. And it might seem like a basic thing, but we've grown a lot and we've never missed it because we care about the people that are working here. I don't ever want to. Honestly, I think it's my biggest fear of having to turn up to everyone and be like, I'm sorry guys, but we can't pay you this month. fucking scares the shit out of me, that does.
Yeah.
It really does. But anyway, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave us a review on if you've been listening to this on any of the the podcast streaming services, your Spotify or Apple in particular. Please leave a review. Tell your friends. Share it where you can. We need someone to sign the podcast off today, and it's obviously oh, go on, Jamie. Who are you going to get to do it?
I think this might be a bit of a crazy sideways move because it's not even a human being. But I have got 2 cats to say hello to.
Wow.
Oh, I thought you were going to get your mum back in.
I thought he was as well. I was like that when you said they're not even a human being. I was like, how can he talk about his mum like
Wow.
So this is Bailey. He's absolutely massive.
Big
He's
cat.
going to be on the podcast.
Yeah.
Look how massive he is.
What's his name?
Bailey.
Bailey. So,
Yeah.
what, you're going to do like a little voice for Bailey? Or you just...
I guess so. Hello, I'm Bailey, and this has been the Drunken Brainwave, and I'll see you all later.
Bye, everyone. Wow.